What's up, guys?
We're not.
Sorry, I do it in case. And we're doing Coming to America.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to No Collar Entertainment. Why are you trying to steal the intro from me?
Just take too fucking long.
This is Matt.
There I am.
This is Juice.
And it's Side Chick Wednesday.
Alright.
With a special 2-date night for me and my side chick Juice.
That's
as I got
right.
my hair did.
That's right.
Looking fly, looking satisfied.
Looking sharp.
The sharpness of it all.
That's right.
He
so sharp he could cut through butter.
Your boy will hook you up, especially if you are in the Northwest Indiana, Northeast Illinois region. In Hammond, Indiana, your boy
Whiting.
will hook you up at Club Men.
No, Vasquez Brothers Barbershop, located 1748 Calumet Avenue, Whiting, Indiana. Open Monday through Saturday. I am available Wednesday through Saturday. Hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, Juice the Barber.
Check out your boy, get lined up, get faded, and make sure you have a good old time. They got TVs with your favorite entertainment on it.
That's right.
They even take requests, and don't forget to check out Juice's Funko Pop collection when you stop in. With that being said, we are back here to look at another brand new movie for Side Chick Wednesday.
I wouldn't
I
necessarily call it a brand new movie. I would say we are back with another movie review. We are back with another episode of The Wheel. I can't listen to my voice. It's weird sometimes. Anyway, We are back with a brand new episode of The Wheel with another movie review. Spoilers ahead, by the way. Heavy spoilers ahead. And if this is your first time, I posted earlier on my Facebook, if you want to know why this is called Side Chick Wednesday, to tune in. I explained it in the first episode. I will explain once more. So technically, I am Matt's side chick.
Mm-hmm. Not technically.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
You are my side chick.
Yeah. When
if Ari doesn't want to go on a date, I take you on a date.
pretty much.
Pretty much that simple. I mean, that's why we went to see fucking Spiral.
Yeah. Just two bros hanging out, doing stuff together.
We're the two best bros that anybody could have. Oh, and then Ari's with us too. Say hello, Ari.
Hello, Ari.
So.
Fantastic intro. All right, so today, what movie are we discussing?
So today we are discussing the 1988 comedy classic Coming to America, starring Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones, John Amos, Madge Sinclair, and Shari Headley.
Strange says the royal penis is clean.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. The movie was directed by John Landis. Now, John Landis has directed other films, including National Lampoon's Animal House, The Blues Brothers, An American Werewolf in London, Trading Places, Twilight Zone the movie, the segment Time Out. He directed Michael Jackson's Thriller music video. Directed Into the Night, Spies Like Us, Three Amigos.
Which Three Amigos? Was Steve Martin?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Oscar. He was the director for the Michael Jackson music video Black or White. Beverly Hills Cop 3.
3, not 1 or 2?
I believe he did do 1 and 2. If he didn't do 1 and 2,
they would have said that's the Beverly Hills Cop movie.
The series,
yeah.
right? On his IMDb it says 3, but I'm pretty sure he did. Unless he wrote the first 2, or was a producer.
Martin Brest, Brest.
Of course.
Did 1 and 2. He's also listed for 3, but
as a director or a writer.
Oh no, maybe it's just they just listed it. They're just listing it. No, Landis is definitely listed for 3. So Martin Brest the first one, and Tony Scott the second one.
There you go. So yeah, that's the major directing credits I wanted to put on John Landis. The screenplay is by David Sheffield and Barry W. Blaustein. The story is by Eddie Murphy, and it was produced by George Folsey Jr. and Robert D. Wachs, with music by Nile Rodgers. Because going forward, I personally am especially if I really like the score, I will name the music director, the composer, music director, what have you. So yeah, the film was released in June of 1988 with a budget of $36 million, and it made $288.8 to $350 million in the box office. So, with that being said, let's discuss.
Okay, all right. Did we go over the cast?
Yes, I went over the main cast.
Okay.
Yes.
I
mean, the main cast.
Shari, was it Headley?
I did mention Shari Headley.
Okay.
So on this one, I'm gonna go third.
Okay.
And I'm gonna let you all speak of your thought.
I'll just go first. It was his pick.
Sure. I love this movie. This movie, I feel like is damn near perfect. For me, anyway. I saw this movie at a very young age. I can't tell you how old I was when I first saw it, but I just remember I enjoyed the shit out of it. And it has been one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies since then. And out of like that era of Eddie Murphy movies, I think it's the earliest Eddie Murphy movie that I had ever seen. Before Beverly Hills Cop, before Trading Places, before any of his stand-up specials. Like, this to me was peak Eddie Murphy. So, overall, it still holds up to this day, to me. Ari?
So I don't remember when I first saw this movie. I think I must have been I knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's a chance I may have actually seen it. Cause it's funny because like that's the first, like one of the parts where like we're gonna spoil some of this so you guys know this.
No, of course.
There's a scene where like Cleo, Lisa's dad, and King Jaffe, who's played by James Earl Jones, are kind of like, you know, fighting basically, like, you know, arguing whatever. And there's this part where he's like, "This is America, Jack," and that part is always cut off whenever you watch it on like TBS and TNT. Like everything he says after that gets cut off, and basically what comes after that is, "I'm gonna break my foot off in your royal ass."
Mm-hmm.
Something to that effect. I've never heard that line uttered before because I've only ever watched it on like cable television. At least to my recollection, I feel like I've seen it at school at some point. Because in the 90s, the teachers just didn't give a fuck, apparently. But it isn't like necessarily like that. There wasn't anything in it that's like too obviously bad for kids. It's probably like PG-13 or whatever, or something like that.
Language.
There's nudity early on. There's nudity early on. I don't remember seeing it because I'm mostly watching the cable, and so it's very possible that if we did watch it in class, it was like fleeting, they might have skipped past that part or something like that, or I wasn't paying attention because it was a live action movie and it wasn't a cartoon. Whereas some of my other peers were watching it because they were fans of Eddie Murphy or whatever.
It's actually rated R.
Is it really?
It is rated R.
More sense. So I probably actually did see it.
Yeah, too many F-bombs for it not to be rated R. I think as soon as you hit 2, you have to.
Yeah, as soon as you hit 2, you have to go to the R rating.
I feel like I saw it in school, but it's very possible that I did it because there's no way they would have had an edited version of it. Like, maybe just heard it talked about in school a lot or something. I don't know.
No, it's definitely, it's 2 because that's why they made a big deal in Guardians 3 about the MCU using its one lone PG-13 fuck.
Yeah.
Correctly.
The other one is X-Men First Class.
Yes.
Then I'm just so used to watching it on cable that I feel like it's been sanitized for me.
So
even though I know that they're doing all the F-bombs, just got finished watching them say all the F-bombs, it still did not faze me because I'm so
used to the
my memory is of it being more sanitized.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so like I did not watch this movie growing up, despite like probably being like just a little too young to watch it, but obviously I have a lot of friends or like peers or whatever whose parents and older siblings definitely watched it with them, so they were way more aware of it than I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I watched it until I was probably an adult. At some point, I sit down and actually watched it all the way through, basically. And I enjoyed it. I really did. And I think one of the things that I took away from it, well, we're going to get into it a little bit with the good, bad, and the ugly here in a second, was it's not in many respects, it's not a typical Eddie Murphy movie. In the way that I think of it.
Does that take away or does it help?
Honestly, I feel like it helps a little bit. Because the parts that were like the weakest to me were actually the parts where it's more typical Eddie Murphy of him being in like costumes and stuff like that, like playing other people. Which is great, and it's part of his shtick, but after a while it becomes kind of wearing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'll get into the good and bad later on. Overall, I feel like this movie is held up. I think there's some things that are still kind of cringy as time has gone on, or like I'm more aware of as I've gotten older. But in general, though, like I still really appreciate it though as a film.
Okay. So the only thing I can say about this movie is does not live up to the hype. For context, I did not see this movie for the first time till after 2012. My wife actually showed it to me first.
Yeah.
I think that was when the sequel was coming out.
No, the sequel came out in 2020.
No, that's why I said it was after 2012, because I didn't know exactly what year it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, I think the sequel was getting ready to come out, and then I revealed to you I
Seen
never
the first one,
sat
so
down and
you
watched
haven't
first one,
watched
and
it.
you were like, oh, we gotta sit down and
Okay,
watch
so
first
you don't have the nostalgia for it as well.
So, up to that point, I had heard my dad really likes this movie.
Yeah.
A lot of friends really like this movie. So you go through life, and it's kind of like in high school for me, when everyone had a Jack Skellington purse or a bumper sticker, or, Nightmare Before Christmas is the greatest movie to ever be made.
Because it is.
And then you sit there and watch it after hearing all that, and you're like, it's alright.
It's okay to be wrong.
And that's what this movie is. This movie is very okay to me. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a very entertaining movie. It's a good movie. I wouldn't necessarily rush to turn it off if I was channel flipping.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very much one of the movies I'd be like, oh, this is on. And then put it on while I continue to search the channels for what I really want to watch.
So have it in the background, yeah.
Yeah. It's a background movie for me. Now.
I how do like movie color me shocked. I'm so sweet sad.
Do we have to bring race into
Yes.
it?
Yeah. I'm going to bring it in a little bit when we get to our actual breakdown on it.
Okay. So the movie itself, again, it's a tried and true story. It's a good, solid story. The acting is good. We're gonna get into good, bad, and ugly, and it's not a bad movie by any stretch. It's I wouldn't put it in my top 10 favorite comedies.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I'm not sure where it would rank, but
I'd actually probably put another John Landis film, Blues Brothers, in one of my top 10 favorite comedies, honestly.
and that's the thing, that wouldn't go in mine either.
And I'll be honest,
but
I've never watched.
But here's the thing:
I've never watched Blues Brothers.
I would have Liar Liar in mind.
I've never watched it in its entirety.
Fucking idiots!
Fair
You
enough.
are from Chicago!
I know, but I'm more of a Hoosier.
Also, just for race sake, since we're making this about that, I would put Friday in one of my top 10s.
Okay, that's fair.
So,
I'm not gonna put that on my list.
I mean,
but anyway,
but I also like here's the thing, the race thing aside.
Thank Christ.
It's more. I think it's kind of more just of a matter of when and how you were exposed to it. Because like for me, I got exposed to it when I was very young. My older sister loves this movie as well. She actually likes a fair amount of Eddie Murphy movies. But if it wasn't for her, I probably never would have watched this. And that's, again, me not remembering when I was exposed to it. Because it might have been on TV. I don't remember if it was on TBS or not, because at that point, that and a lot of his other movies could have been in syndication. Yeah. So it's mostly a matter of exposure.
That's what I think it is, yeah. Yeah.
Because
it was 40 years old.
Because here's the thing. For a heavily black-based movie, it is directed by a white man.
Yeah.
That's so...
Well, that's the only way they're going to probably get it done. But it was a story by Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
His idea.
No,
and
yeah.
he's also popular at this point in his career that he can basically write his own thing.
By the way, real quick, before we go further into opinion, No Color Entertainment is brought to you by a very diverse class of guests of panels, and there you almost every major race is almost represented here. So just before y'all had to make a big deal about how the white guy didn't like coming to America, so I gotta
race does play a part in humor. I joke about Matt being white and not liking it, but there's definitely a type of humor that I can't see the rest of it.
That comes out of racial environment.
And that's fair, but at the same time, you could argue that I have a very African-American sense of humor.
God damn it, baby. No one's ever going to argue that.
That's fair.
Okay, here's
I get what you're saying. It's not it's because the movie was almost 40 years old at the time I had seen it. Mm-hmm. And it didn't hit me as much as it probably hit someone in the 80s or 90s.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. And now that we're getting into like the nitty gritty of it, and I will bring up some of these points, the good, bad, and the ugly, but I'm just going to go ahead and just dive right in. One of the things that I always liked and appreciated about this film was, one, it is a predominantly black cast. It's a white director because it's the 80s still. But they're not going to greenlight a major film.
I'd say dark, but that's a different type of black. I'm gonna get canceled.
Alright, anyway.
I love you, Strange.
I mean, there are different shades of black.
That's another topic. However, I would say one of the things of this film is that it's a black fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the issue is that there are not nearly as many made about that. And when they are, oftentimes it still plays into a certain narrative about the black experience, which is usually downtrodden, poor, struggling, and so forth. This is somebody who is clearly well off, who is choosing to not utilize their resources, who is choosing to not have, make use of that privilege. And when he gets to America, for once, we're not constantly shoved in our face the fact that the nature of him being black sets him apart.
Yeah.
He is just to exist as a person, and then also who happens to be a prince. And it's kind of nice and refreshing, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that it is a predominantly black cast in a time where you're not going to see that the fact that it did so well, but box office wise globally, is another thing.
It's a testament.
Considering how much it actually made. It was not did take very much to make. I was looking at some of the critical reviews. It was panned early on. A lot of the press screens for it was kind of negative, and then everyone watched it and was like, no, this is actually super funny. It's still actually, on Metacritic, I think it's 4.4, whereas, everyone in the audience, the critics are saying 4.4, the audience is saying we give this movie a fucking A. So, there's definitely a disconnect with regards to, how the industry, and sort of the segments of society view how this movie should have been made, versus the honest reality of we just enjoyed the goddamn story.
No, yeah.
So to add upon what you just mentioned, so IMDb gave this movie a score of 7.1, and Rotten Tomatoes 73 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, maybe someone else I think IMDb was 6.
What is IMDb? 6.6.
IMDb IMDb is 7.1.
So almost a full point over Xenon.
Metacritic. Metacritic. You said Metacritic gave it.
I thought it was 4. I was looking at something about coming to America.
Metacritic is usually.
So it might have got mixed up.
It's probably the
Metacritic
the
is also out of 100.
Maybe it was 44 out of 100 or something like that. It was low.
Metacritic's always out of 100.
It is 44, but I might be looking at the information about it coming to America.
It probably could be for the sequel.
But I was looking
at
the
sequel was a 4. It's terrible.
It wasn't good.
I will talk about that later.
But I think another thing I looked at was like they were looking at two people who were from Africa. One was from a Yoruba culture. I'm not sure which country maybe that specific country, but I think that's actually more of a ethnicity than it is country. And then someone else was from Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And basically how like this was closer to the reflection of their experiences in terms of like when they grew up, like their parent family loved this film because of the fact that it is kind of showcasing like instead of this, and this kind of thing is like there's still elements of about like the idea of like Africa being like this one big homogenous place, even though Zamunda is a country within it. It's obviously a fictional country. Mm-hmm. But the idea being that there's no sequel. There's no more response.
Strange
I'm sorry, my mistake.
Strange says, "What sequel? There's no sequel. There's no war in Ba Sing Se."
You're right. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was talking
and
about.
He says it with a stone face. ha! Stone. Ba Sing Se.
But yeah. But so yeah, the idea is that like this was a decent depiction of African culture or experience or whatever, even though it's like not homogenous, but the idea that it maybe heavily borrowed from certain elements, and that it is very like opulent in some areas. They do like go all out when they go to like big fancy weddings and shit like that. Everyone there, like a lot of people like do own their own land. It's not just like entirely like all impoverished. When we think of Africa, we think of it as being quote unquote a shithole. The idea is like there's more shit there going on.
When you think of it as a third world country.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a continent. It's a fucking continent. Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I have more to say about the stuff right now.
Yeah, but we'll go into the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the good. I will go first since I am being attacked here. And my white privilege is insulted right now, so I'm going to use it to go first. And just because of that, I'm not going to go first anymore. Someone else.
No, please go ahead.
Juice, your pick. Go ahead. He's abstaining. Go ahead.
Oh God. Okay. Oh God. Where do I start? That's the problem. There is a lot of good in this movie. The writing, the casting, the acting, a fair amount of the cinematography, the score. Okay, so let me try to backtrack. I want to kind of break down individual things instead of just bunching them all up because I know we're going to talk about. But the movie's very well written. The jokes, 95% of the jokes land. This movie knows it knows what it is, and the dialogue feels genuine. Obviously, Eddie wrote for himself, for Prince Akeem, but like you said earlier, Ariane, like it doesn't feel like your typical Eddie Murphy movie. Because he's not playing himself, and I think that's kind of what helps the character of Akeem and just the movie overall is because the main character is not Eddie Murphy, just kind of playing Eddie Murphy like he does in other movies.
No, tell us, white man, you're good, bad. Tell us.
we will.
That was a strange comment, by the way.
We will get to him.
Oh my God. I'm not gonna be able to say anything bad about this.
Yeah, no.
This is how I get canceled. All the bullshit I pulled out last year, and this is how I get canceled.
I haven't on my bingo card either, babe. But I mean, like,
it's horse shit.
No, we still got a ways to go. This is
pulled out Xenoporn for you fuckers, and you wouldn't cancel me.
You help.
Okay, so again, the writing, everything. I feel like everything about it just feels it feels right. I'm pretty sure, Ariane, you can go into deeper detail because I'm struggling.
Oh.
The casting. James Earl Jones in this movie is perfect as King Jaffe Jafar.
Because he's always perfect.
I would argue that this role got him Mufasa.
That makes sense.
It's possible, but then again,
Because Lion King is like what? Well, 6 years later.
But still.
It's more. I mean, this
No,
okay.
94, 95 when Lion King came out. This
Yeah.
88.
Yeah, but just 6 years later, and you're sitting in a room talking about who should be the king lion of Africa.
Well, who should be the king and queen lion of
And a guy speaks up, hey, did you see James Earl Jones in Coming to America? That's pretty much what we're looking for.
I mean, I have mentioned before to a lot of different people. This movie is basically is kind of a live action Lion King, kind of, sorta.
Yeah.
Without Scar.
Without Scar, yes. So
Without the Hamlet.
the actors that play Eddie Murphy's parents also play Simba's parents in The Lion King, so that's just, it's there. But no, James Earl Jones, I am aware that man is one of the greatest actors of our time, if not of the time before.
If you haven't seen his Broadway performance of Fences, Jesus Christ.
The man has such...
They had a poster for it in the background.
What?
Fences. I don't know if it was for
did
his. They had a poster for Fences in the background when he spoke to the subway.
Oh, I didn't notice
wow,
that.
I missed that.
I don't know if that was for James Earl Jones's performance or that was just one of the performances.
It's possible.
They did have a Fences in the background.
We did discuss the
that should go on my
the
list
Easter
at some
egg.
point.
Yeah, the See You Next Wednesday.
Yeah.
But again, no. God, I love him in this movie. He's powerful. He feels like a king. So it's great. Arsenio Hall as Semi. I mean, I'm not very familiar with a lot of other comedians at that time, but he plays the sniveling sidekick or sniveling servant sidekick very, very well, along with the other roles that he does. But I feel like he's a really good compliment to Eddie Murphy's Akeem. And granted, I think they both had collaboration on this movie, considering they were like the biggest names in the 80s as far as black comedy. I could be wrong. Probably am wrong.
The Arsenio Hall show was like super fucking popular.
Yeah,
for very
so
long. I never watched any of it because
neither did I. But again, I could be wrong. If anybody in the comments knows better than I do, please say something, because I don't want to look like a complete fool. But again, just great.
Oh my god.
John Amos as Cleo McDowell. Great, love it. Shari Headley, I don't know much of her filmorgraphy before this. If you want to go ahead and check, please do so. But I think she's gorgeous. I've had this talk with Classic in the past, but because he's also a fan of this movie. But like, she is a gorgeous woman.
Oh, yeah.
For this film, and I have no issues with her. At all whatsoever. The rest of the cast, great. I mean, you could change. I don't know if you could change anybody else, but again, the main cast, beautiful. Oh God, what else? The cinematography is great. I love a lot of because it's the 80s and we don't have a lot of the CG that we're used to now. A lot of the shots. The opening, again, I love the opening, the intro, just the way the camera is gliding over the land of Zamunda, the country of Zamunda, leading to the castle. Beautiful. The shots of New York when you do get them. I think it's very well shot, very well done. Oh, the score. Jeez. I've had this song, some of the songs I have had stuck in my head for years, especially the opening. Once in a while, and I had to find a way to get it onto my playlist. But that, and just outside of the soundtrack, like the score, the use of the drums. That 80s jazzy kind. I don't know if it's jazzy, but that upbeat. Like when we go to New York, like the music used when we get to New York is so different from when we're in Zamunda.
Yeah.
And then like when King Jafar shows up in the third act, then we go straight into the drums. Like it's I love it.
There's a lot of blending of it too.
Yeah, it feels fun. It's upbeat. It knows when to change it up because there's character in the music as well. Outside of the handful of of copyrighted songs, if any, in this movie, and I think there's a lot of some of the messages in this movie as well. Someone as someone as wealthy as Akeem who doesn't, like you mentioned earlier, how he doesn't use his resources. He's choosing to live in poverty to essentially find what he is looking for, but he never treats anybody like they're beneath him.
Yeah.
The way his dad does, the way the way Semi does. No, I was gonna say more so Daryl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The characterization of Daryl as an American man who is of wealth, who comes from this family that owns a enterprise of
hair care products, yes,
for African Americans. He's a spoiled rich kid who basically uses money to get his way, or his wealth kind of determines his character, whereas Akeem is the complete opposite. And that's one thing I really appreciate is the antithesis that Daryl is to Akeem and why Lisa ends up falling for him towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
Then there's also the characterization of Patrice.
Mm-hmm.
Because Patrice is kind of that typical
gold digger.
Exactly. Pretty much. She's attracted to Akeem at first simply because he's a nice looking guy.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the good here or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I mean, no. Patrice is a character. She's bad.
Oh yeah.
But the characterization of Patrice is what is good.
The acting.
Okay.
The acting, the writing, she's a gold digger. Once she finds out the truth about Semi,
yeah,
she makes the switch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then as soon as Daryl dumps Lisa, and after she finds out the truth about Akeem, makes the switch. Right, yeah. Like without skipping a beat.
Yeah.
So that's like I don't know what else to say. Except that I really love how well done this movie is for those reasons.
Okay.
That's my good anyway.
So I'm gonna do my good.
I'm gonna go my good first.
No, I want to do my good first. That way, the white opinion sandwich in between, kind of like an Oreo. That way, we're beginning and ending with a much more viable opinion. Would you like to go, baby?
No, by all means, baby.
Are you sure?
No, by all means, the white man's opinion can talk over the black woman's. Go ahead. That's fine.
Well, now I'm shutting up, so you better go before the dead silence takes us all.
Maybe I am perfectly fine with silence.
Not for content, it is. Not for content,
though. Well, it's still your turn. Go ahead, baby.
You might as well go. You already put your foot in your mouth.
Yep. Oreos, baby, let's go.
That was a funny joke, so it was very funny. Anyway, the good. Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall just get their own little good right there.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're super entertaining throughout the movie. The barbershop scenes are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember what scene I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah. So go ahead, hit me. Or is that going to be in your bad?
Well, that's going to be in the bad. Okay. But I remember that scene. Okay. So that's good. Samuel L. Jackson's cameo is fantastic. Playing Samuel L. Jackson.
Of course.
What are you writing?
I'm just taking notes, that's all.
Is it like going to be a big Black Lives Matter sign or something?
Maybe.
Louis Anderson shows up. He's a lot of fun. The acting in general is super good. The writing is solid. The visual effects are great. You mentioned the
elephants.
The intro pan.
Oh yeah, the intro pan,
which is fantastic and really sets up everything. The music is great. The comedy stylings is spot on. And it's just a fun movie. It's a well done. Don't think too much, and there's no real evil characters in there.
No.
There's no real dark characters in there, so it's a lot. It's lighthearted. It's easy. It's a nice fairy tale.
Yeah.
So that's my good. Would you like to go, baby?
Yeah. So, the good for me in this film, a few things. So, the good for me in this film is Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
And part of it is because the character of Akeem is different than most of the other characters that I am familiar with Eddie Murphy playing, because they mostly tend to look closer to his stand-up in the way that they talk, in the way that they act. And a lot of times, like, something like Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places, they come off with, like, slick hustler sort of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And they're most, like, films, like, in the 80s. Like, I don't know necessarily that continues through, like, the 90s as he gets different types of roles, or he starts to do different types of projects. What does Strange say?
Strange says, Ari just writes on Notepad, must update Matt's programming.
He's gonna be like
somehow he has reverted back to the 1954 version.
You just turn him into Imani.
Oh God, no, I couldn't do that. But it's fun because he is so different, not only from the way that he is traditionally portrayed up until this point, but certainly compared to everyone else around him. The other ones obviously come close are his parents in terms of regality and like kind of the way they carry themselves and the way in which they speak. But more to the point about, like, since most of the interactions we see of him are outside of that interaction, the majority of the time we see is of him outside the palace and interacting with us common Americans, basically.
Yeah.
And Lisa points out, like, it's regal, and like, you set yourself apart without realizing it. And it is, you brought up an interesting point about the juxtaposition between, like, both him and Daryl grow up with money, that it's not something through their own doing. However, for whatever reason, Akeem grows up with more feeling of responsibility with that knowledge than Daryl does, who seems to be treated as like something as a for his pleasure, basically. Despite
that's parenting.
Huh?
That's parenting.
Well, here's the thing: like King Joffrey doesn't really doesn't do anything different, but he also kind of views, like, maybe he views a bit more responsibility, and that's what's been portrayed to Akeem, and that's what the difference is. But he also kind of takes a view of, like, I'm better than everyone else because of my position, and I can kind of treat people a certain way. And especially when he comes to America, because, like, everyone else already knows their place basically around him, so there's no conflict in that.
And as far as parenting goes, I mean, there's the comment that his mother makes, that the queen makes at the beginning when he's like, "You've grown a mustache, Joffrey. It's been a year." It's like
they haven't really been interacting with each other.
Exactly, and then and usually.
But that's the thing. The mother then did the parenting.
Okay, so then.
And the mother's more down to earth, hence the down to earth.
Well, I think that also comes from her upbringing as well, because she was
arranged.
It was an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
So her upbringing is way different from Joffrey's, which means that Joffrey was probably was brought up to be, he was brought up to be king like his father before him, and so on and so forth.
But it wouldn't be necessarily that uncommon, at least like in like European monarchies in history.
No,
I'm going to finish. In that the parents were not that involved in the day-to-day relationships with their kids. So, like, the fact that he has not seen his son in a year wouldn't be that unheard of, and maybe like a 15th, 16th, 17th century monastic way of like raise your kids. They would still keep tabs. The fact that the mom is more involved is probably very much about the fact that, like, her being just a more sensitive person, her caring about her son, her only son, and wanting to make certain that his happiness is being cared for, as well as the fact that there's still a certain amount of expectation placed on him and her within this kingdom that, well, yeah, you can't wipe your own ass. You're not, that's beneath you. You would never do that. Why would you? And so I think that that's kind of more or less what they're getting at, in that this is just how crazy fucking rich, powerful this family is, that it mimics more of basically a contemporary version of what we think of fairy tale kingdoms, with the kings and queens and princes or whatever looking for their counterparts in the fantasy stories from the 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries. And so that's what it's just kind of updating, basically, to an extent. Mm-hmm. But I was also going to say, I talked about Eddie Murphy being one of the goods in here. He does a very good job of playing that character, playing a very different character than we've used to seeing at this point. The other one I want to bring up is the fact that I kind of brought before, the idea of black excellence and opulence that we never really saw in a major film up to this point, with the backing of a major movie studio, and for it to do as well as it did. It is kind of changing the narrative to a certain extent in terms of you can exist and be black and be rich without necessarily those things being mutually exclusive. Mm-hmm. You can be from Africa and have that. You have the family, even with Daryl's family, where they are obviously well off. They're rich. McDowell is well off, and maybe he's not as rich as Daryl, but he has money, basically. He's
successful.
He's very successful. And, as long as McDonald's doesn't sue him into, oblivion, which is, I thought was also kind of hilarious, because a lot of times you see, a lot of times in movies, they do, these plays on actual brands that exist in the world, and with absolutely no, reference to the actual one, because they don't want to get sued. And then this one leans heavily into the fact that we are trying to be this one without actually being this one, and brings up the differences, that are obviously, knockoffs. And it's I'm just not used to seeing that in a film, because usually it means you're gonna get sued. But I'm assuming they must have got permission from McDonald's somehow or something.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I can see them getting away with it. As many times as they reference it, although there might be a lawsuit somewhere out there that I'm not aware of, because I tried looking it up but I didn't see anything.
I haven't looked into it, but if I had to guess, they had to have.
They had to pay for something.
Yeah, they had to pay for something, but also, they're using, it looks like they're using one of their restaurants.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it is. They got in touch with whoever was in charge of the franchise at that particular restaurant. Right. They paid to use it. They changed the name up and whatever, and the joke, I think, is kind of a joke in and of itself. We're gonna use a McDonald's, and we're gonna joke that we're stealing from McDonald's.
Yeah.
While I don't kind of know where I'm going with it, but I think you get what I'm saying.
What if that was a joke? What if McDonald's you can go ahead and film in our restaurant, but make sure you have the McDonald's name in the movie, and they change it to McDowell's, and just to be maliciously compliant, McDonald's is coming after them.
Well, actually, no, I disagree, because they actually do drop the McDonald's name in the movie.
That's what I'm saying.
No, not just name it. The logo is in the film.
Yeah.
In the binder.
When he's looking at the binder,
He's looking at the binder. McDonald's operations. So again, they must have gotten some kind of permission in some fashion, because obviously they're using one of their restaurants. That is, the exterior shot is of an old 80s McDonald's, which, by the way, I gotta say, as someone who worked for McDonald's, don't miss working there, but I do miss when I used to be a customer, and I miss that old 80s look.
Yeah.
It goes back to that meme of of when you see McDonald's, of old McDonald's compared to new McDonald's, a McDonald's as a kid.
Oh, the plastic tree, Grimace everywhere.
Yes, the play place, and then McDonald's.
Before the play place, they had actual fucking playgrounds.
Some of them did have a playground. Some of them had the play place.
Yeah.
But it's the bright, colorful youth compared to the old,
dreary corporate.
Yeah. So again, that's kind of my piece on that. But yeah, there had to have been some kind of permissions involved.
Well, yeah, so those are my good. I feel like I have more good. I just want to touch on them briefly. You mentioned the the scene shots of them kind of like, it all kind of like speaks to everything that we see in Zamunda is designed to try and to communicate that this is not what you usually think of an African country. Mm-hmm. Most of the ones that we usually think of are hot, desert, like poor, struggling. Yeah, it's just wild, basically. And to a certain extent, there's still some of that as well. But for the most part, like, there's this sense of less than. And everything that you see from the minute that you get the first opening shots of the film, of Zamunda to the closing shots of the film, is basically to communicate that this is not that kind of story. The sweeping landscape, the kind of showing like the lush green valley that they live in, the giant palace rising up out of it, the large like shots they have that's showing the wideness of the interior view. Like, this is not a cramped area. They have the space because they have the wealth to be able to create the space. Mm-hmm. Him, obviously, the constant help that's around to throw pedals and wake him up gently with a chorus of fucking string
the orchestra
and shit. Yeah. Like the bathtub the size of most like apartment complex swimming pools. Shit like that. Like, everything is this, the elephants and giraffes running wild is to help you remember you are in Africa, but because like apparently elephants and giraffes just run wild everywhere in Africa. But the idea is that they are there. We had this conversation in the movie. Like,
yeah, we did.
They are physically there, and they did not spare any expense in getting them there to help sell this view that they are in Africa, alongside the other shots of them being in a very wide open space that is obviously well appointed, while also being in Africa. So I think that's something I really appreciated. That I don't really think I appreciated enough until probably watching it the second time. So that's the other thing I want to talk about. Of course, like the predominantly black cast with like, we were kind of arguing like who was like the one named white actor in a time still to a certain extent now, but where you oftentimes will see the reverse, where Eddie Murphy may oftentimes be the only one named black actor in his film. And this is when he's like super. I think we underestimate how fucking popular he was because we weren't really aware of when he was like the height of fame for him. But the idea is that like when he starts getting all these movie roles, a lot of times he is the only black face, and he's the only named black face, which is probably most important in the film. So the fact that when we do this one, it is a reversal for another stand-up comedian in Louis Anderson, is kind of refreshing for me, because at the same time though, growing up, I watched probably more predominantly black cast films than probably anyone else in the room, and then of course we're the middle class. Gary, to be fair, but middle class, this didn't really shock me to a certain extent until I became older. So,
all right, so now the bad.
Okay.
Juicy.
Oh, wow.
What does Strange say, by the way?
He hasn't said anything else.
He
said, they do, I've seen an elephant baby sit a giraffe baby. It happens all the time. ... I'm joking, of course. So the bad.
Okay, the bad. I really don't have a lot, if any, bad for me personally. So as far as going back to the writing, like the bad, Patrice is a character. She's bad. She's gold digger.
But even then, you have to have those bad characters. So is that really bad for the movie?
I mean, not necessarily.
Because that's what we're talking about. It's bad for the film.
Oh, the bad for the, okay. So the
brings the film.
The
down.
Bad for the film. There is some editing that, or some shots that I thought were kind of questionable, or maybe unnecessary. Specific. The ones I'm mostly referring to are in the third act at the McDowell's after Lisa leaves and Akeem and Semi show up, and everybody looks, and then we cut to the dog looking as well. And I think
it's a very Landis thing, though.
It might be, but I didn't understand. Like, to me, it felt a little unnecessary because the dog isn't really much of a major character, and it could just be, like you said, it could be a Landis thing. I'm not familiar enough with what he does in his films as far as like animals. so that the shots of the dog felt unnecessary. So there was that. At least we learned how to make French fries. Not a great joke. For me, anyway.
God, you're really scraping the barrel for something bad.
I really am.
You could say you don't got nothing.
I mean, I know I could. I'm like, most of the time I probably will be the one that doesn't have anything bad because I don't have that enough of a critical view.
Oh, sure you will. Don't worry, I have plenty of bad movies.
I'm pretty sure you do. That's it. Honestly, I can't think of anything.
I have two bad things.
Okay.
One is the... can't believe I'm about to phrase it like this.
Okay.
The black awareness scene.
Okay.
Said the two minorities in the room.
Damn, God, it was a joke, okay? Give me a second.
Take a sip of your Pepsi.
Even God's like, you better go somewhere with this.
Not because there was a black awareness scene in the movie.
Oh my God, straight is spitting out whatever she's drinking right now. God, furiously trying to type. Damn the lag. Continue, baby, I'm sorry.
I'm trying. But it was such... It was so praised.
No, Matt, go on.
It's so praised that I'm literally broken right now. Okay.
Well, all right. Once Matt gets his composure.
Okay.
All right. No, but
so.
Okay, so.
In that scene, the singer and the preacher just really didn't hit with me.
Right.
So the scene just seems to drag.
Yes.
With no actual purpose to the movie, except introducing a character.
Yes.
And a character introduction to me shouldn't necessarily be 10 minutes long. That scene I could just take out.
Yeah.
Or at least cut out. Well, see,
don't get rid of black awareness. Just
no.
Cut it down.
No, what you're saying is
maybe we don't need to be as aware.
More on the edit than it was.
What he's saying is get rid of possible Grammy nominee Randy Watson.
At the least.
Yeah.
No. I disagree.
And that's fine. Some people probably really enjoy that scene. I just thought it dragged. And I was like, okay, I'm ready for the next.
I feel like I could say leave the preacher.
The preacher didn't bother me as much. Then they break out into the song, and it's like, why?
I think that's more. I think part of it is to help introduce, or at least to help with Lisa's point for the charity. Because the whole. Now I will say this, and I don't know if I'll be condemned for it, but I never knew that song was a Whitney Houston song, and I don't know if it is necessarily originally a Whitney Houston song, but
she's the one who made it fucking famous.
Okay, so I did not know that she sang that song until recently. Yes, I am an uncultured swine. I'm aware.
What the hell?
My soul hurts.
But when I hear her sing, when I hear that song, I just think of Randy Watson.
Yeah.
He introduced me to that song.
I gotcha.
But that's just me. But no, I think part of it is just Eddie just trying to get in his quote unquote vocal chops.
Yeah.
As a joke, and again use it to kind of help introduce Lisa in a little bit of a way.
And now that I think about it, maybe it's some kind of allegory to the African American man who gets out of the poor area with his talents. And then tries to give back to the area by using his talents without actually helping the community.
He shows up in one episode of That's My Mama.
Yeah, so maybe there's a reason.
He's
for
a
it.
pseudo.
I don't know.
He's a pseudo celebrity, is what.
But because it's not my experience, I don't get it, and so the scene tends to change.
I think I could see that, but. Based off of the context, it's like he's a pseudo celebrity.
Oh, I get it. Matt's bad is that he hates black people. said Strange.
said one of your good friends.
Yeah, right.
Who just happens to be half
If
black.
only.
Well, if anything, I think Strange is like the in between for us.
Yeah.
But
all right. So
okay, so what's your
my
other
second bad? Pacing decisions.
Okay.
Specifically with the length of a scene before they end it.
Okay.
The one that sticks out to me the most is the third act. Akeem is running after Lisa. She runs under the subway. And not the ticket booth part, because that's a classic gag, and it was probably one of the first times that gag was used, and it's like, fine. It's more of, she runs down the stairs and into the train. Then we see Eddie run down the stairs and follow her into the train. And he's desperately trying to get to her to explain his side. And we watch the doors close. And we wait a second. And then the train leaves the station. And then another car passes. And then another car passes. And then one more car passes. And then we cut to the inside of the train where they're getting ready to have their conversation.
Okay.
Like, if it were me, when he came down and jumped onto the train, as soon as the door closed, I would have cut inside and continued to follow the characters and onto this rush of a moment where he's trying to explain his side.
Yeah.
So there's more examples of it throughout the movie. That was just the most glaring one to me, where it's like, okay, this scene's over here, but I still have to watch 30 more seconds of what's going on.
I think they do that to show you that they are actually in a moving train. I think that's what they did.
I also think, and
I get they're in a moving train. They're
I
getting on a
apologize
train.
for cutting you off.
That's not as well. No, you're fine. I don't. But I think that was. I'm not saying I agree with it. I think that was their decision in order to show that they are on a moving train, which is why he's not running to her while they're on the scene. The train is not standing still. They are actually in a moving train, or at least it's being shot to make you think that they're in a moving train or whatever. They may actually be in a fucking moving train for all I know. I don't know. But the idea is that, like, I think that's what that was there for. Now, it shouldn't have gone as long to be able to communicate that point. Probably not. But I'm okay with them having shown the exterior of the train so that we know that this is a moving train. Like, as a directorial decision.
I don't need to know that because she ran onto it, obviously trying to get away from him, knowing the train's going to leave.
It's a continuity thing, I think, that this director decided to go with in order to try and connect the dots to show that this is what they're doing. Right. Because they also may have very well been, the fact that they're shooting it on a moving subway train, if that's what they did, and I don't know that they did it, is probably, because you get the feeling that they're on a moving train. And I think part of that is the communication. Now, is it a great decision to do it in that way? No, I have a problem with it. It never really bothered me. And if you wanted to cut it, I can see cutting it to be a little shorter to show the exterior. But that is just that I would feel more jarred if they just cut it right after he gets on the train without us knowing for a fact that they're on a moving train. We know they're actually moving because it feels like they're cheating to a certain extent. So I think that's why they did it that way. That was their decision, the directorial decision to show that that's how they're going to do that part.
It just throws me off, and it gets me out of the story, and I'm just waiting at that point. Strange said, disclaimer for future watchers, Matt's not racist, I just like to mess with him.
So
thank you for that, Strange.
So,
but that's my bad. That's all.
No. So as far as much as I respect your opinions on that, I think it was more so for the Easter egg.
To show the scene next to Wednesday. That may be it too.
No. That is when they are arriving and she gets off the train.
Is it?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's when she's getting on the train.
When she's getting on.
That's when she's getting on the
train.
When she's getting off the train,
we don't really see the platform.
You don't see the exterior shot of the train when she gets off.
You're right. I think that's what that was.
I think it was more so for the Easter egg.
Yeah.
Because this is back in a time where Landis is probably expecting anybody who's seen his films to probably catch it, like, or catch it.
It's like Stan Lee in the MCU.
Yeah.
Kind of, but it's like when Stan Lee shows up, it's like everybody's like, oh, Stan Lee. But back then, if you're a Landis fan, you probably would have caught it off the jump. Yeah. If you're not a Landis fan, or if you have seen his movies in the past, but you don't get it right away, it's like we're gonna shoot it so that people can have a chance to catch
Register
it. Exactly, even if they hadn't. Or so they could, like, and check, like, hey, is this a real movie? Because, like, because Dan Aykroyd's is the top name on that poster. Jamie Lee Curtis is also, like, I saw.
Everyone else on there are actual names.
Yeah. And the only one I couldn't see make out was the second name under Dan Aykroyd, but whatever. But so that's why I think that shot was so long.
That's probably actually more right than anything.
Okay, well that's my bad. Go ahead.
My bad is interesting because my good was Eddie Murphy and my bad is actually also Eddie Murphy. And it is the characters that him and Arsenio play where they are basically playing someone else. Some of those scenes I thought go long. I don't necessarily need them. Now, that said, I understand to a certain extent that some of those scenes are reflections of different, I don't want to say tropes, but elements of characters that you will find in black media and black society in general. Like the I don't know what a black barbershop looks like, not having that experience as a woman. It would not surprise me to know that that's exactly what the fuck it sounds like. Because I've also sat around black men who are older than me and listened to them talk shit about sports. And that's exactly what the fuck they sound like.
Yeah.
So, like, stuff like that. The scene with the Reverend where they're having church feels like my church. Now, we would never do it in, like, a black awareness rally sort of thing, but, like, the callback, you know, and everything like that, the dancing and so forth and so on, the music, like, all of that felt like, you know, the experience of if you went to what I would say, quote unquote, a black church. Now, not all black churches look and sound like that, but definitely mine did. Randy Watson, his song was long, and I feel like that was also we're not going to talk about the sequel, there is no sequel, but if there were a sequel, that was probably some of the biggest challenges with that film as well, where those scenes just went way longer than they needed to, where we're giving Eddie Murphy and whoever else more screen time by allowing them to play other characters rather than actually, like, hiring actors to do it. Yeah. And it just gets tiring after a while. Like, it is a pacing issue. I don't think you need to necessarily have them up there as long as they are. It is to show how the range of Eddie Murphy, which is part of his shtick, which is great, but I don't know that I would have ever been into it back then, and as I've gotten older, I'm into it even less now. I think that's really kind of what it is for me. Like, those were probably the biggest bads for me. I also have an issue with Patrice, but I'm going to leave her for my ugly. Okay. Yeah, because it's a lot uglier than just, she's a gold digger.
What's up, Edward?
Hi, Edward. What's up?
Hello.
Also, Strange says, before Juicy cut my hair, I only went to black barbers, and it's 100% like that. I remember when we first started dating, I went to a black barber.
When we first started dating, that's when we got married.
Oh no, that was no. There was a time before that. Oh. We were going to a show and we had just started dating, and we were talking about the wrestling show and trying to get the barbers to come out. Mm-hmm. It was me and the other guys, and I am the only white boy in there. Yeah. And they start picking on me because of course. And eventually, the conversation went to what you know about sisters.
Jesus Christ.
And so I pulled up the red dress picture.
Which red dress picture?
The Ariana Jefferson picture.
I don't know, red dress.
Oh, your original profile picture.
Oh, my orange one.
Yeah, orange one.
Orange, red.
And
very much orange.
And I was like, oh yeah, what about this? And like got the classic and pretty much objectifying you for the next 10-15 minutes. While I got over with the black barber crowd, and
I'm glad I was your in.
You are my in, baby. You are my black card. So
I feel right now.
So where were they going with that?
Yeah, where were you fucking going with that?
Black
barbers.
Black barbers are the best. And after that day, I refused to go to anything but a black barber until Juicy became a barber, which...
Oh, God. No,
you're going to tell me you miss it.
No, there's not a huge difference.
No, it's just, we just don't talk shit to each other.
No, there's no shit talking, but there's plenty of entertainment, there's plenty of good times, there's plenty of good vibes.
And that's the point, because that we want the client. You want to feel comfortable. You want to feel. You want to feel. You want to feel like you're kind of at home. At least that's the setting we try to give. Now, mind you, there's only two and a half of us right now, but essentially we have our moments.
And that's the thing is sitting there and you're hanging out with old dude. I forget his name.
With Yogi.
Yeah. Yogi's always welcoming when I come into the store, especially when it was I just knew you.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, all right, I don't know these people.
Nice hours.
I don't know these people, and I'm not like.
Yeah, you're not.
I'm not that extroverted, and so I'm trying to get a feel for it. And Yogi's just super welcoming, and like every time, oh, good to see you, brother, and blah blah blah.
Well, it does help that he did work at an all.
Samoan Power, Jamaica Power.
Samoan Power, Jamaica Power.
Nice.
He did work.
People Power.
Oh God. He did work. He did work at a black barbershop, so he has.
All power matters.
He does have that familiarity. Anyway, so I want to go back to something you mentioned, Ari, as far as you're bad with Eddie and Arsenio playing the multiple roles.
Yeah.
And how that could be a little overbearing, or it could be a little much at times.
Yes.
But without, as bad as it was for you, at least in this film, how does it reflect towards the later films? At least like for like the Nutty Professor and Nutty Professor 2 that Eddie would do going forward.
Nutty Professor, well, keep in mind, I probably saw Nutty Professor before I saw this film. And again,
Okay.
I think we talked about this off camera, so I'm going to say it again. Nutty Professor, I thought when I saw it in the theaters, I was like laughing my fucking ass off. Like, I thought it was the funniest shit I'd ever seen in my entire life, and I couldn't believe that anything else would ever be any funnier. And then I remember watching it again later on, and I'm like, wow, this isn't really as funny as I thought it was.
Okay.
Now, a lot of movies, comedies, unfortunately, have that effect where, like, once you've seen a joke, then you kind of anticipate them, and so the effect is lessened.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst part is, like, it allows you to kind of think. And so some of those jokes you realize really aren't as funny as you thought they were. They're just an initial reaction because of the circumstances, but you don't necessarily, like, find them humorous anymore, especially now that you've been exposed to them. But, like, watching it again, actually, like, first, I dislike it even more, and so part of that might have been factoring into when I go to see Coming to America for the first time in its entirety, after I've now watched The Professor probably for a second or third time, and like, wow, he does this a lot, doesn't he? And it really still didn't even bother me the first time I watched it. It's just now upon multiple rewatches over time, it's just kind of like more awareness about. It was funny, I'm sure, at some point the first time,
Mm-hmm.
but now I'm kind of over it.
Okay.
And it takes away from the rest of the film in a lot of ways, to me. I enjoy so much more of everything else about the film besides those scenes where he's basically just talking to himself.
Or where him and Arsenio are just talking to each other.
Well, yeah, and Arsenio is, him and Arsenio talking to each other or whatever, like, and I know they're doing it for a bit, but you're not propelling the story forward in any way, in any of those.
No, and I think a lot of what it comes to is that's them putting themselves over, essentially. Because when we talk about the budget, the budget's $31 million and it made over
280,000, $1 million or whatever.
And a lot of the budget went to everything else.
Yeah.
Because the cast, the main cast is Eddie and Arsenio, and then obviously James Earl Jones. Yeah. Well, not so much unknowns, but again,
mostly unknowns.
Mostly unknowns as far as
Samuel L. Jackson is still not really known at this point.
Who?
Samuel L. Jackson. He's not really known. At
no,
this
but
point.
he's there. He's there more so as a.
He's not even credited. I mean, he's not named. He's not even named in the movie.
No, he doesn't have a character name. No, he does not. But he is credited. Like, he's in the opening credits as well.
In the because he is actually still being like he's growing his name. But no, at this point in his career, we don't know who the fuck he is.
No,
he is mostly doing small roles at this point. So the fact that he got a speaking role and he got to be who he was, that's basically the character he's gonna play.
This is before he met
40 fucking years. But yeah, so I think the only movie at this point, like around this time for Samuel L. Jackson, like the next movie that he's in is Goodfellas. Again, another big character.
Yeah.
So we don't really know who he is.
Who is he in Goodfellas?
He's Stax. He's the driver who they shoot at some point.
Oh.
Because he fell asleep and got high or whatever when he was with the athlete to the heist.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that.
Yeah. So exactly, he's not a main character in the film. We forget that he's barely in it.
No.
And so, but no. So my point is basically that, like, to your point, we had James Earl Jones, Max Sinclair. I don't know what her filmography is at this point, but I'm gonna assume that she's done like Broadway or something like this. Like, so she probably has some clouds. John Amos, fucking known at this stage. Louis Anderson, I think, is still becoming known.
I think
but he's a stand-up comedian.
He's middling.
Yeah, and so like everyone else is, and then I'm talking about like Shari Headley. Like she was unknown. That's part of the reason why I picked her.
Okay.
And so a lot of people are not really known in this film, except for Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall to a certain extent, and then of course, obviously, the other 5 I just mentioned. But they're to help propel the film. Like they're help for the draw. The rest of the film is up to them to actually keep everyone like in the seats, and they do a good job at it. But to your point, part of the reason why they would get away with it is because they don't hire a bunch of known actors, and some of those parts are played by the same 2 people. Cuba Gooding Jr. is in a fucking film. He doesn't have a speaking line.
No, he doesn't. He's just
the guy in the chair.
He's just the guy in the chair, and this is before he's Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yes, exactly.
So the other.
Jake Steinfeld. He's another one. The taxi driver.
Okay.
I recognized him.
Yeah.
Like I could have sworn I seen him in stuff growing up where he was a comedian.
Yeah.
So even him, like, he's another one. And I don't know if there's anybody else off the top of my head, but again, no, like to my point, it's just them 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, the big money goes to James Earl Jones.
Yeah. All right. So.
The Ugly.
The Ugly. Just.
I know you guys say. I know this comment has been made, but I'm gonna put it in the ether because it's there. It's not. This film doesn't have any ugly for me. It's what comes after it.
Oh, the sequel?
Yeah.
It is coming number 2, America.
Yeah.
They already have one. Edward said they need to make a Goodfellas game. They already have one. It's called the Godfather game, and it's the pure perfection of a mob game. So if you want to play a mob game, just go play the Godfather game.
Right. So the sequel. I was excited for a sequel to this movie.
Why is that the part? Well,
That's the ugly.
The ugly is,
the ugly is that there was a sequel made.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to briefly talk about it, just because it does exist.
Yeah.
I remember being excited about it because of my fondness for the original movie, and then I see it, and it is just the first movie. It's basically the first movie rehashed. With furthering a story. It's not great, and it's
nice.
It's a lot of these jokes rehashed, recycled worse.
Yeah.
So
I agree. There's no warm bus.
That's my ugly.
So I don't have any ugly. First of all, it would have been the sequel, but I think that we've spoken enough of it. Mm. So, to me, there is no ugly in this. This is a strong, strong movie.
All right, so my ugly.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
It's not a long list.
Why do you have a list?
Because there's some stuff that I wanted to be able to talk
It's not a long list. I saw. So.
Yeah, no. There's 3 specific things that I take issue with.
No, the Mafia games are dope, Edward. Sorry, go ahead.
No, there's 3 specific things that I take issue with this. I'm going to start off with, the first one is the trans cringe that I have when I watch Arsenio Hall play a woman. When they have plenty of other women who are on there, they do it for a gag against cross-dressing, basically. And, like, obviously that wasn't as much of an issue to society than it is now, but it should have been. And obviously some people probably would have taken offense to it. And with more awareness now, it doesn't age very well. That would be my first one. I left it under ugly because I think it deserves to be more under ugly than just bad. The next one actually are kind of 2 things at the same time, but it's the colorism.
Ari's black. She's
allowed to criticize this film.
Thank you, Strange. Colorism actually specifically is my biggest ugly for this film. And it is not necessarily just this film. It is definitely in a lot of films, even especially like in the 80s. But like in general,
it went under your chair.
Oftentimes in films, for those who may not be aware or of it, that colorism absolutely fucking exists within the black community, and a lot of times within like every segment of every other community, they just look different or manifest ways in different ways. What? Say what again?
Edward's confused by what you're talking about.
Are you referring to
the trans cringe or the colorism?
Right. Or was it something else from earlier?
Yeah. So the trans cringe is just a matter of like it just doesn't age very well within that gag. But the colorism is something that is pervasive within Hollywood, especially at this time, and it's getting a little more awareness now, but it still exists. And the idea is that, so, colorism refers to the idea that, it's particularly, I'm talking about black culture especially, but it happens in other ones as well, that the closer to whiteness that you appear, either in skin tone or in what we perceive as whiteness in your actions, speaking, so forth and so on, is perceived as more desirable than blackness, basically. And so that's when you have like the duality of the characters of Patrice and Lisa, for example. Patrice embodies this very typical trope of like the black Jezebel, basically. Like she's super hypersexualized, she only is into the materialistic things, she's not as intelligent or doesn't appear to be as compared to her sister. We have the scene where she's dancing and having fun and her sister's just kind of laughing away like, oh, you're so silly. And she's the one who's the object of the men's desire, at least the ones who have any wealth who are trying to go after her and not after her sister. The idea that Patrice thinks more down the gutter, whereas Lisa is more high-minded, that sort of thing. Like, that is a very clear example of colorism within media that happens constantly. That's why I kind of take issue with Patrice being portrayed as a gold digger, because it is still feeding into this notion of the idea of the black woman who's only after like wealth, basically. And of course she'd be the one who is the darker complected one. There is the issue, I think there's this weird kind of like play that happens with misogyny, because it is, oh, she's a gold digger, or oh, like, we want women who want to look a certain way. And obviously Eddie Murphy is like the exception to that, right? Because that's the whole point. He wants a woman who can think for herself. He doesn't just want somebody who is pretty. But the problem is that, not necessarily for him, at the same time, we only want someone who's pretty. Oh my gosh, she only wants me for my money. You only want her because she's fucking pretty. What else are you going to have to offer her that she should be looking for? And so it's like that's happening within the society of this movie constantly, and it's not really challenged. Now, the only person who's challenging, obviously, is Eddie Murphy, and so I'm not really going to get into that too much with regards to that element. I just want to make sure that it's being, like, we're making awareness of the fact that that's still within Patrice's character specifically, and that the idea that Lisa's character would not want money is the ideal. Like, well, it's still kind of the idea that you still are expecting the woman to want you for you, but you don't want her for her. So what are we doing here? But no, the colorism is definitely a part of it for me. Daryl's character, there is definitely this perception, at least it feels like it, in at least in my experience, that if you're going to have a person who is lighter complected, then it's better that it be the woman than the guy. The guy is a virility, like, he's just going to be, like, he's showing that he's, like, you know, the darker, like, not darker the better, but, like, the idea, like, dark guys are supposed to be more desirable, because they're closer to, like, this idea of what a man is supposed to be as far as a black man goes, whereas the lighter dude, well, he's a bitch, basically. And then that is exactly the kind of the way that it's played. The exception, of course, to that is James Earl Jones, because it's fucking James Earl Jones. So we're not going to touch it with him. He's obviously the exception to the rule, at least within the character that he's portraying in this situation. But yeah, that is my biggest issue with that film. And that is my issue with a lot of films, particularly with a lot of African American cast, especially in the 80s and honestly throughout the 90s. And doesn't really take a whole lot of changes, generally speaking, until maybe the 2000s-ish. So that's my ugly.
So I cannot see the first part of Edward's.
Yeah, I don't know where that went.
Yeah, that was weird.
What happened?
Yeah,
Edward,
he had a take.
Yeah,
and it was up there and it was gone.
Yeah, gone.
It's the majority of it's gone. So Edward, we do apologize. We didn't get the.
We would like to read it out, but it's not there.
Yeah,
so.
it did mention. I saw something about clout.
Yeah.
Like
Cloud, trying to get Cloud playing a victim.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure what that was.
I don't know.
Sorry about that.
All right, so any more?
I'm done.
Okay, so that's our ugly.
Yeah.
So all right, so good, bad, and ugly. So now we go to buy it, rent it, stream it.
Oh, we're
Or
not.
don't bother.
Or don't
Or
bother.
don't bother.
Yeah, we might as well add that fourth one. Or don't bother.
Yeah.
Okay. Me personally, this is a buy it.
Yeah, I would agree. I just think it's a classic. And while it may not hit for me, it is probably important to have in your collection.
Absolutely.
I agree with that, but I'm still gonna say probably rent it because in terms of like actual sit down and watching it and enjoying it and showing other people, I'm probably not gonna do that a whole lot.
Okay.
So I still think it's worth renting. So for example, like I will rent it. Like I'm not gonna like we rented it today, right? And so the next time I'm so inclined, or either of us are so inclined to watch it, I'm probably not gonna balk at paying $4 again.
Yeah.
So I'm so unlikely to watch this anytime in the next year, but I am likely to watch it again in the next couple of years. Hell, I may actually watch it in the next year or something like that. But like the idea of like that being $4, whatever, I can live with that. But I would rather do that than buy it because I'm probably unlikely to watch it very often to justify the cost. But I wouldn't say stream it because I think just waiting for it to be streamed. I mean, if it's available, watch it whenever you can, but, like, it indicates that you only watch it because it's free, and if it's not, you wouldn't. And I say, like, no, it's worth the $4. Still gonna do it.
So, real quick, Strange's comment, we got his full thing. He says, and that's why I always use my light skin privilege to help elevate those with darker skin, and also to educate people who will listen to me about the struggles of the colorism in the black community.
Period.
There you go. Alright, so we have hit all of that.
We have
so
6
now
viewers right now. Oh my god. We're like overwhelmed.
Sweet.
By all means, jump in and put your comments in.
Welcome in. We are wrapping up on this one.
Look, I hate to be the one to say it, but I am I am on to catch any chats.
Yes.
And I believe Matt is too, so we are 2 of the 6.
Take that animated cartoon Good Times, for example. The original series is based on survival.
This new garbage is supposed to be entertaining and funny. That's insulting to the original storyline.
I don't got it.
Yeah.
So there's a cartoon.
Next up is out of 10.
Oh, so our scores.
Yeah, scores out of 10.
Ooh, okay. So I guess I'm gonna start first. So this may be a little controversial because I gave Gone with the Wind 9 1/4.
Yeah.
I think we were all solid at 9. I changed.
And then you changed it, yeah. So if anything, I'm gonna revise mine as well 2 weeks after the fact because Ari did it a week ago.
Yeah.
You gave it what 8.5?
8.5.
Yeah, I am also gonna give it an 8.5 because for me, this movie's a 9.
Okay.
It's like a 9 or 9.5.
Okay.
And I know what IMDb gave it.
Right on.
There you go. But for me, it's a 9.
No, I get that.
So yeah, that's my score for this. Like
then you're not at work.
Like this I outside of the nostalgia, I still really enjoy this movie. I like comedies in general. Yes, I know what jokes are coming, but because I don't watch this movie a lot, the jokes still land for me.
Okay.
Oh wow, yeah, definitely.
So I can enjoy this movie once in a while when I decide to put it on. You know, especially if I watch it with people that also have watched it and enjoy it. So.
Yeah.
All right, Matt.
Solid 7.5. I'm gonna put it right there with Bullet Train. I think that's fair for it. 7.5 for me is not a bad movie. There are plenty of movies I absolutely adore that I give 7.5. Yeah. So I think that's a fair rating. I could be persuaded to go up to an 8, but honestly, I think that Black Awareness scene knocks it down half a point for me. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna leave it at that with no context, just for the new viewers who just popped in.
Wow.
Baby, your score.
I'm gonna go at 7.5 actually also.
Black Awareness shot it down for you too.
Not in so many words.
No, it's more so colorism.
It's the colorism, yes. Which is ironic in a film that's talking about Black awareness. So, but yes, no, that is where I'm at. I think it's still a fun movie. I would still watch it. I would still recommend people rent it. I think it's still a good film to watch at some point if you're trying to see good Eddie Murphy movies, especially earlier on in his film career. Mm-hmm. But it's not necessarily my favorite. It probably actually is my favorite Eddie Murphy movie. Not one of my favorite movies in general, and I can live without it. So I would just go
And you shouldn't, Edward.
Strange says, remember, Matt hates black people.
Hates apostrophe S, so that's hate is. So, but no.
Or
but,
possessively hates them.
Yeah, but, one or the other.
That's gotta be.
Yeah,
oh God, that's even worse.
There is no discrimination.
Oh my God, it just keeps end the stream. I'm in so much trouble.
So, I guess that's everything, right?
That is not quite besides someone has to get their wheel ready.
Outside of that covers.
I think that pretty much covers it.
I
think we all enjoyed the movie in general and good vibes all around.
Absolutely, no. This is, I mean, compared to last week, this was a good time. We had fun with Xenon. Matt and I definitely had fun last week with Xenon Girl of the 21st Century.
Zetus Lapidus of a time.
No, that's
Good Time Major?
Good Time Major.
Good Time Major.
Good Time Major.
Ari had a headache minor.
Alright, so Ari, is your wheel ready?
It is.
Alright, so spin it. Wheel of morality, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn. And next week,
Raging Bull.
Okay.
Oh, Scorsese has entered the chat.
Well, I have never seen that movie.
I have never seen it.
I have never seen it.
Oh,
shit.
Oh, wow. So this is interesting.
A first 0 for 3, and it's going to be Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull. Starring Robert motherfucking De Niro.
Yep. Okay, I'm looking forward to this.
Yep.
That's going to be a fun one.
All right.
That's going to be a fun one. So tune in next week. If you want to do your homework, make sure you watch Raging Bull before next Wednesday, as this will contain heavy spoilers.
Shit, sorry. Sorry.
And that is how Ari found out that she has sleep apnea.
Or insomnia.
So yeah, I think that's it. I think we covered everything.
Yep.
So look forward to Raging Bull next week. And then it'll be my turn again.
Yeah.
I gotta put all my Disney Channel original movies back on my list.
Why?
Just to irritate you.
Because the guilt from last week has worn off.
I think you should try and tap back into it a little bit,
Okay.
Matthew.
Ew! Don't do that. My name is Baby.
Not as long as you are threatening to put more Disney Channel shit on there.
Strange says, can't wait for Matt to give this movie a 10 because it has more white people.
Every movie has to be rated lower than Coming to America now, or I'm racist.
I mean, you said it, not us.
Damn!
Matt, you just keep digging your hole.
I know,
deeper.
but it's cooler down here.
You don't see the sun anymore?
Not really.
I mean,
I've seen enough of the sun this year, though.
To be fair, as the months continue to get hotter, he's gonna want to hide in his hole and cool down. So
yeah, I've been toasting for the past 2 months. But anyway.
The opinions on that movie, but I'll wait. Sweet.
Please
join us next week, Edward.
So with that being said,
we're gonna call it here. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you take part of the conversation every week, as we do not have enough viewers to lose your comment. So with that being said, for No Kind Entertainment, this is Matt.
This is Juice.
Another Side Chick Wednesday.
Whoop whoop.
Signing off. We're out.
Bye.
Peace.